Hello and welcome everyone to the last presentation in our Supply Chain Innovation Awards track. I'm Eric Pedersen, a CSCMP member serving as the track chair for this year's series in our 2020 Virtual Edge Conference. And I think before we jump into a great presentation by Raymond Corporation, I want to give you a little bit of an overview on this program, what it's all about. So a bit over 15 years ago, Council of Supply Chain Management Professionals in partnership with Supply Chain Brain launched this program, and what it resulted in was over 450 submissions we've received over that period. And the purpose of the program is to make sure we're educating our members on some of the key companies and initiatives that are driving innovation in our profession, to also recognize those teams that are advancing this innovation excellence, and then to make sure we're developing a running log of some of the most important innovations that are impacting our profession, our businesses, and our society at large. So just wanted to give you that flavor of what this program's all about, and also give you a little bit of a snapshot of what has been happening in the supply chain series from 5 other presentations that make up the 6 finalists that were selected from 29 submissions overall. And just in the event that you did not get a chance to attend these, wanted to give the audience a flavor of each of these, just so that you'll be able to see them on archive. All these will be made available on archive. We just want to make sure you have an opportunity to understand what these are. So quick commercial on each. So yesterday we started the series with a presentation by Forkites and Land O'Lakes. And what they introduced was how machine learning was applied to quickly identify other companies which Land O'Lakes could share trucking capacity and pool shipments with, and thereby reduce empty miles. Then following in that day, we had 2 presentations back to back from Intel Corporation. And the first one was involved how they devised a machine learning and contract analytics solution to eliminate laborious manual audits for the terms and conditions on over 15,000 contracts. The second Intel team highlighted a very innovative packaging design that has completely transformed how they ship a very high volume, highly fragile product. That's their silicon wafers. And then earlier today, we had a presentation by DLT Labs and Walmart Canada, who have teamed up on a major blockchain initiative to significantly streamline Walmart's overall freight payment process for both its carriers and the large retailer. Finally, just before this presentation, Cisco also showcased how they developed a powerful digital solution that automates the initial tracing and end-to-end orchestration of supplier quality issues on hundreds of thousands of components. So with that, I want to introduce our editor-in-chief of Supply Chain Brain, Bob Bowman, who will introduce our awards finalist speakers and the topic for the session. Bob's going to also serve as the questions moderator today. Bob?
Well, thank you very much, Eric. For those of you who don't know Supply Chain Brain, we are a comprehensive resource of information for over 250,000 executive subscribers around the world, and have been partnering with CSCMP, as Eric noted, on the Supply Chain Innovation Awards for over 15 years. All of the past finalists for this competition are on our site. Now, before we start, I do want to note that we will be taking questions from audience members and answering as many as possible at the conclusion of this presentation. We encourage you to submit your questions via the chat box at the bottom of your screen. Now, for this session, we are pleased to offer a presentation from Raymond Corporation on how Raymond's virtual reality helps solve a real-world labor and skills challenge. Our speakers are Steve Gore, iWarehouse Solutions Applications Manager, and Jack Como, Director of iWarehouse Technology Solutions with Raymond Corporation. So at this point, I'm going to pass it along to Jack. Jack, take it away.
Thank you, Bob. Really appreciate it. Before we get started, I just want to talk a little bit about the Raymond Corporation, who we are, you see where we're coming from. The Raymond Corporation is popularly known for manufacturing lift trucks, vehicles inside of warehouse and manufacturing facilities. What we also do is a wide array of technology solutions. One of the technology solutions is what we're going to cover today. It's also really important to understand that Raymond is part of the Toyota Industries company. And with the Toyota product in mind, we have a stance in everything we do. So like Bob mentioned, Steve and I are today. I'll let Steve go ahead and introduce himself and start the presentation. Go ahead, Steve.
Thanks, Jack. Yeah, back in, well, forgot to introduce myself. This is Steve Gore. I am the application manager for the virtual reality products at the Raymond Corporation. About 2015, Deloitte Manufacturing Institute released a study that identified that there was a growing skills gap in the industry, and that was expected to continue growing all the way out through the year 2025. Following up on that, in the year 2020, Deloitte came out with another study, similar questions, and found that this still was the #1 concern of executives in the industry. And so really what Deloitte had identified was in fact true. Now, the Raymond Corporation was seeing similar concerns within its own company as well as with our customers. And in 2016, we launched our own virtual reality simulator project. And with that project started, other things were happening in the Broome County and the Tioga County areas of New York, where we were seeing a number of distribution centers entering our area and looking for skilled material handlers. And really at the time, there were not many. In recognizing that skills gap, a company called, or an organization called Broome Tioga Workforce New York started putting together a project and bringing in local educating facilities, Broome Tioga, that we call it BOCES, Broome Tioga Board of Cooperative Education Services, as well as Broome Community College. And the three of them together put together a program to train material handling operators for this for the companies that were entering the area. That program really was designed to take care of a few major challenges that these new employers were having. Number one, preparing participants in this challenge from the educational institutions to be able to enter the workforce in this new industry in our area. And then also, because most of this was a classroom environment, they needed to find some way of getting these students that they were educating, actually getting them comfortable operating forklifts before they could actually enter the workforce. And thirdly on that, once the students became acclimated to the forklifts, how can they assess whether the student has really learned it and is really ready to join the workforce as a forklift operator? Well, Broome Tioga Workforce New York contacted Raymond, asked us if we would be able to help in that, overcoming those challenges. And we did happen to have this VR simulator program in place. We've been working on it for a couple of years now, and we were happy to help out. And what we did was we installed the virtual reality simulator where this educational training was going on, so that students would be able to not only get classroom learning, but then be able to take that classroom learning and put it into a virtual situation and actually operate lift trucks, even though it's virtual, but operate those lift trucks and see what they've learned, put their learning to use. And also, as any forklift operator would recognize is what you learn in books or in classroom, as you know, it's so much different than the experience you receive when you're on the truck. So by bringing this in, we were able to put it in a closed environment where everything was controlled, and a trainer was being able to stand right next to the operator as they went through multiple modules, and learn all the different skills required. And there's more than just being able to pick something up and drive it around like a car. Being able to take things and put them up overhead, be able to put them right into learn how to put those pallets into the racks overhead. Understanding and looking for mirrors before you enter an access or an aisleway, remembering to stop and look both directions. The VR simulator looks at all those things and will actually grade the user on their ability to stop, recognize these things, and do them, as well as their skill in actually performing whatever operations are required. Following up with that, the instructor could also see what the operator was doing, as well as have a recording of what they did. They could go back and reassess it, what they did, and try over and over again. If there's something they didn't do well, they could keep on practicing. All of this within the confines of a small area, maybe a 10-foot by 10-foot area. And there's no risk of the operator damaging any goods, damaging the truck, or an instructor, or them being injured in any way. So that's what we were really able to provide to this project, was that ability. And when the operators had completed their projects or completed their training here, they were actually quite comfortable getting onto a real lift truck to do their final practical evaluations. And they were not intimidated by the vehicles or the size or any of those things at all when they were done. And they enjoyed the experience. It was really, the operators were all excited about the end of their class, so that they could actually get on this virtual reality machine and try out what they had learned, and to demonstrate their skills. And just to touch a little bit more on the modules, the virtual reality simulator is set up so that we can do a wide variety of different types of trucks, from counterbalance trucks to reach trucks to swing reach vehicles to center rider tow trucks. And there are learning modules with each one that could be up to 10, 14, sometimes even 20 some different skills within there that the operator can practice and is graded on until they're comfortable doing them, in a regular basis without error. And that really gives them the confidence when they get onto a real vehicle.
Thanks, Steve.
Yep.
So picking up off of Brim Tioga, we obviously are offering this to a variety of our customers today. And I really think that it's important to understand the market and why our customers see this as very special, along with Brim Tioga. It does really provide a next generation way for learning for operators inside of warehouses and manufacturing space. What I mean by that is, now you have operators that are excited to learn. Imagine that. A lot of operators were dreading the day of sitting in a classroom all day, reading from a manual and taking tests. Now they actually get on the piece of equipment that they're eventually going to be operating in a real work environment use the exact same controls on the exact same vehicle in a virtual reality stage. On the slide here, you can see an actual image. If you were looking through the virtual reality goggles, what you would see as an operator. You have those robot-looking hands that are actually following your movements of your hands. And you'll have the dexterity of filling the actual controls of the truck. Why is that important? That comes about because of the requirement of retention of what you've learned. So yes, this does teach somebody how to drive a lift truck. It does a very good job of that. Our engineering team spent a lot of time making sure that the controls, when they were moved and using the computer of the truck, that they followed an actual movement and speed that the truck would actually go in. So when you look at the capabilities that this houses, it's pretty special, because when an operator is using the actual controls, they get that kinesthetic learning as well as the visual learning. And what we've seen is recorded is an 80% increase in retention. Above and beyond that, there's a time savings that's employed here. If I'm a trainer in a situation and I've got multiple virtual reality systems lined up with big screens overhead, I have the capability of putting operators to learn different modules at different levels on multiple trucks in a virtual reality simulation scenario. This is really important to understand, because what this allows a trainer to do is to multitask their training capabilities and save a lot of time. We've seen approximately, actually more than 1/3 time savings in training process because of the capabilities of the VR trainer. And I can't stress this enough, the gamification and the enjoyableness of this is really addicting. Once you get on there and use it, you want to go back over and over again. What better way to ensure are learning in a way that they need to in order to be successful with something they enjoy. So what are the results of this? Here's what we've seen. We've seen operators come in and say, that was awesome, I want to do it again and again. And because of that, we had to create what's called a buck, a fake truck that goes into a break room or a cafeteria or an office space, so that when operators are not out working or on their break, they want to get on the virtual reality and learn more and understand different modules. It creates an environment when an operator goes through the modules, they're scored and graded, and those grades and scores are all kept inside the module. And once they receive 100%, they're marked with that score. As they progress through the modules and the learning plans for each vehicle type, it gets gradually more difficult. But all in the while, those modules are reality of something that they may have happen inside of the warehouse. An example of this might be, I'm going down a narrow aisle on a reach truck, and I've got to place a pallet on the top part of the rack. That's a very difficult task to do for a beginning operator, and could make a beginner operator very nervous to do that. The virtual reality system allows them to try it out with no harm, no foul. They can bump into the rack, they can drop the pallet, they can have an incident, and nothing bad is going to happen. The more they practice it, the better they get, again, using the exact controls on the exact truck that they are experiencing when they go live on the truck. This creates great confidence in the operator. It allows them to feel more confident in their work. It also creates an environment that's incident-free. We know that with those companies that are in the warehouse environment or manufacturing environment, they typically gate off an area where it's space taken for training only, and only training occurs in that area. That space is now freed up, so it allows them to have more space in their warehouse. And then finally, in the Broom Toyota example, every single person that went through the VR training system was employed. They all got a job. And when we checked back last year, they all still had a job at that exact same company. So it's proven to work, and it worked really well. I have a short video here that I'll play. It's 1.5 minutes, and then at the end, I'll wrap it up.
Learning on their simulators. has been the biggest part of it. I didn't know nothing about forklifts, I didn't know nothing about driving, but the instructors are so hands-on that they allow you to be able to participate in this program, you know, and they tell you step by step what to do, how to do it, where the switch is at, you know, so you can learn a lot in this program. You know, you get comfortable with the machine. You and the machine become one, basically. You know, once you learn how to control it.
The simulator has actually given me more confidence to actually go to the next step and drive a forklift truck.
With this, you actually feel like you're there and you have all the same forklift controls. So when you're driving the forklift, you feel like and you see that you're driving the forklift. And once I've gotten to my destination of employment, I'm going to have a way less of a learning curve, and it's going to take me way less time to get comfortable on the forklift.
So the virtual reality simulator that the Raymond Corp provided was without a doubt everyone's favorite part of participating in the program. I heard that it kept them engaged, that they were amazed by how realistic it was, and that it gave them what they felt was real hands-on experience before they got to the job site. So without a doubt, that was everyone's favorite part of the program.
Okay. So what we learned from this is, in the end, and through Rooms Tioga and many of our customers, we're helping our customers out in more than one way, and we're helping the community out in more than one way by optimizing their training and warehouse operations. It does increase work productivity. Those operators are able to get on task and into the workforce quicker, and especially in the times of today, we have a requirement of distribution centers really working in a manner that is delivering on a very fast pace. Again, like I mentioned before, it does create more space for that product and for their product and their racking, and provides them the capability of saving costs that they can reinvest throughout their organization to whatever needs they have. Steve's going to talk about what's next in VR, because we're not stopping here.
Thanks, Jack. Yeah, right now the Raymond Corporation has VR simulator programs for 18 different models of trucks. And that consists of about over 200 different learning modules amongst all of them. We don't want to stop there, and while 18 is a pretty good number for our models, there's still other models that we have not completed yet. Our real focus is to, at some point, have all Raymond trucks, models for all Raymond trucks represented in virtual reality. The second thing we're really looking at is an item that Jack brought up. We've recently introduced virtual reality bucks. Those fake trucks really help out quite a bit for educational institutions and places where they might not have the space or the ability to have an actual lift truck on site. And these virtual reality bucks can fit into they're only about 30 inches by 32 inches. They fit through a standard door, much lighter, and the system hooks up to them, and they're off and running. We'd really like to expand our current, we have 3 right now hitting the most important of our not important, the most used vehicles, or ones we've sold the most of, but we want to expand that out to even other models just to get the full complement completed. Down the road, we're looking at augmented reality. Not so much artificial intelligence yet, not that it's out of our realm or anything like that, but we're really focused on the VR, looking at how we can bring augmented reality in more at the technician level. So when they're looking at trucks and working on trucks, they can have instructions at the upper side of their glasses, goggles that they're wearing to steer them along their maintenance capabilities or maintenance tasks. And that's really what we look for going into the next 5 years, I would say.
Thanks, Steve. One thing I want to touch on really quick about the virtual reality system is that while it is a great teaching device, it also is a great data collector. We know that in warehouse and manufacturing operations today, information is the ruler. And with information, you can do some pretty incredible things. So as the VR system is performing its teaching operators how to navigate through a warehouse and operate a lift truck, it also collects the data of everything that the operator's doing and while they're doing it. When we pair that information with some of the other solutions that are available at the Raymond Corporation, like telematics, is an example of a telematics monitor right there on the slide. Telematics data reveals inefficiencies and incidents that occurred through impact management. And when we combine the two data sets, it provides a great story for the operation to continually train their people. So if somebody has an incident that was reacted in an impact, the telematics system will record that person and their impact, and even the location of their impact. And all of that information is stored in the same system that the virtual reality training is stored. So you can ask that operator to go back into training and to learn more about what happened when they had that incident, and to repeat it until they feel comfortable again, so they can go back out with confidence into the workforce, performing a task that they may have made a mistake at before. So a very powerful part of using the information that's collected out of it and creating optimization. All right, Steve and I are going to both do a summary here on what we've done. Steve, I'll let you kick it off with the Broom Tioga.
Yeah, with the Broom Tioga Workforce project, it was just a great success. As Jack had mentioned, every one of those participants that went through that process resulted in getting a job, and the employers were very happy. The project still is going on, and it meets a real demand for the community. The success of that has us working with other organizations like Broom Tioga Workforce in doing the same thing. And actually, it's really spawned that whole idea of really getting into the community colleges and offering community colleges the ability to train and operators, or teach them how to operate forklifts so they are ready for the workforce when they leave school.
And I think the final piece of this that's really important is that while we are contributing to our community, we're contributing to our customer base, and even new customers we had not ever talked to before. And the market for distribution and manufacturing and education are seeing great benefit from this solution. So it's a fun solution. It's an exciting solution that's going to continue to reinvent itself over and over again. And we at the Raymond Corporation are really happy to be part of it and to represent what it can do for all of those communities combined. Thank you very much. We're open for questions and with answers right now if you'd like to ask. Thank you.
All right then, gentlemen, thank you so much for that excellent presentation. And we do indeed have some questions for you. The first one is, who are the actual simulator instructors? Are they faculty? Are they staff from companies doing the hiring? Are they from Raymond? Are they from somewhere else? Who are the people who are doing that?
I'll answer that one, Steve. So what we do is when we implement the VR system at whoever wants it, we do a train-the-trainer program. So we leave behind an instructional program for a trainer that may be on site. They learn how to use this system, set it up, and prepare it. But the best part about it is that the system has modules built into it, predefined. And those defined modules are stepped 1 through, in some cases, 20 something. And they take you from a very beginning acclimation type level, understanding the system, to a very advanced level, like I mentioned in the presentation about a high narrow aisle reach pick. So we train them how to package it up and to get it started and record the data, and then the system really takes it over from there.
All right, thank you. How has this program impacted the time and expense that it typically takes a distribution center to hire, onboard, and train a forklift operator if they started from scratch in-house? That's the first part of the in-house. So go.
Oh, I can answer that question. Imagine this. A forklift operator comes in for a job, and he or she hasn't even ever driven a car before. And that actually happens. They don't have a driver's license, and they want to drive a forklift. So obviously that makes a company very nervous, but they have to do it because of the workforce and labor requirement, get somebody on board. What this does is it allows that person to work in a virtual environment and learn incident-free quickly. And typically, in a real learning environment, in order for anybody to remember something, they really have to do it over and over again, repetition. And so the repetition is key. But as mentioned earlier in the presentation, remember that the kinesthetic and visual learning really increases that retention rate. In our studies, we've seen a retention rate increase up to 80%. So what that in fact ends up happening and doing is that it reduces the amount of time required for training really significantly. And then the other study that I talked about was we've seen more than a 1/3 time savings per person in training in the program that contributes to the bottom line of the company.
Okay, well, here's the follow-up to that question, and that is, do you have any data available on improvements in operating execution of a forklift to the extent of, say, fewer accidents, safety incidents, or product or vehicle damage and the like?
That's a really good question. So in the virtual reality system standalone, you don't get that information. But when you combine it with other solutions like telematics or location tracking, you could certainly get that. And in our iWarehouse Gateway system, it provides all those reports in one place. So through an engagement with our professional services team, you can get to a really great result showing vehicle incidents plus operator assignment and relearning and education that's necessary to improve.
So what are the key benefits to people seeking work as forklift operators? For example, an increase in their likelihood of even being interviewed and hired. The question says, if 100% of the class gets jobs, what's the normal ratio of applicants to hires for a typical DC employer? What's the end-to-end cycle time to hire from first application to submitted to job offer received? I realize that's kind of a compound question too. I don't know if you want me to go back and read those out one at a time, but let's just start out about this question about key benefits in terms of like likelihood of being interviewed and hired.
Sure. So the key benefits to, well, it really is twofold. The key benefits to an employee who's looking for a job is that they have an opportunity to learn in a way that they've probably never learned before. In fact, the generation of operators that we see that are traditionally applying for warehouse level jobs, they've already done this and they're very good at it on their TV at home. So the experience and the comfort that they walk in really makes this better for them. On the employer side, they have the ability to market this and say, we've got a significantly different training program that you're going to like, and it's fun, and your training is going to be shorter. What better than have an employee who has a genuine interest in learning and an exciting program that's a benefit for them to come work for them.
So again, if 100% of the class gets jobs, what's the normal ratio of applicants to hires for a typical DC employer?
Yeah, I don't have those numbers off the top of my head. But I can guarantee you it's not 100%. It's going to be less than that. And the reason why is, let me give you an example of the way the system is used even before the operator starts training on it. We have some instances where they use the virtual reality system as a pre-employment check. So an operator for a position and they want to put them on an order picker. The order picker has an elevated height that the operator goes to, very high in the air. And if this particular operator is going to be operating that order picker in the virtual environment, they can bring them to height. What we've seen is that operators quickly find out that they don't want to go to height. They don't want to be up high. And so the virtual reality system allows the company to either no hire or put them in a position where they don't have to go to an elevated height, eliminating that process or not able to hire.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the last part of that question, what is the end-to-end cycle time to hire from first application submitted to job offer received?
Really good question. So the whole perspective of application to interview and then training and hire really depends on the process of the customer. But what we can do is talk about once they are hired and they've gone through the pre-screening process with the VR. In the requirement of operating a forklift, you have a classroom setting, which typically is e-learning environment, and then in the middle you have practical application where you must drive that vehicle and show them how to drive it. And then the third part is a certification of that vehicle and driving that vehicle. The part that we take over is that middle piece. That middle piece is where incidents typically occur because you have operators who are uncomfortable, not confident, and have never driven a vehicle like this before. So we enable them to be able to do that in a virtual reality environment. So it really shortens the time frame of and reduces the incidents inside that middle space in requirement of starting as a new employee.
Going forward, you talked about the use of augmented reality and artificial intelligence. I wonder if you could say anything about how AI might play a role in future training and simulation.
I think Steve kind of touched on it a little bit with the technician course, but we really can't talk too much about that. We're working very hard on some pretty special things using the platform we've already developed that make this even better on the future.
Mm-hmm. All right then, gentlemen. Well, at this point, we're going to close out this presentation. If there are any audience questions that did not get answered in the presentation, I'm sure our speakers would only be too happy to answer them offline. But Steve Gore and Jack Calmo, thanks for a fantastic presentation. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to Eric to close us out. Eric, go ahead.
Hey, Jack, Steve, and Bob, thanks for introducing our audience to a great story on what Raymond Corporation has been doing with this innovation. Really excited to hear your creative application of virtual reality to the classic problem of how do you rapidly train and qualify forklift operators for the DC environment these days where labor shortages are so tight. So thank you so much. We really enjoyed it. Hope the audience enjoyed this presentation as well. Audience, we're going to invite you to check out some of the archives of the other finalists as well, to the extent that you did not get a chance to see this. One favor you could do for us before you depart is there is a survey at the bottom of the screen. We'd really welcome your feedback. We can benefit from feedback on how we can improve the program and continue to sustain the greatness of it. And so on behalf of our presenters, our Innovation Award judges, and our facilitators, I want to really thank you for joining us today and hope you really enjoyed this EDGE 2020 conference. I guess this will be the last session of this forum, so we'll bid you farewell. Hope it's a great few months ahead. Continue to stay safe during COVID-19. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.